Hey guys, in today's video we're going to be going over a gameplay of a Silver 3 viewer of mine. In case anybody's asking, no, I don't do paid VOD reviews or anything like that because I know this is going to be asked a bunch. I just sort of pick up VODs from viewers in my community Discord whenever I feel like I have an idea for a video or a topic that I want to cover. So I don't have any plans for doing like mass VOD reviews or anything like that, not interested in coaching, but we're going to be talking about this video. We're going to be talking about some common mistakes that I see in Silver 3 matchmaking. So let's get started. All right, kicking off pistol round, we're going to be talking about his positioning here and how he plays out this round. He's going to be playing mid for his team pretty much this whole CT side, and he's going to start every round by walling off tube. This is just sort of a little small thing, but the new meta now is to curve your tube a little bit, like angle it to the right, so that there's no gaps, because omens can TP past the tube or past the wall if they're smart. So just a little side note thing, but enemy team darts middle and his raise sees that two people are B main, and what he's doing right here, I don't like this. Like, he doesn't have a purpose or a direction in what he's doing. He's just sort of standing out in the open, and he just sort of looks like he doesn't really know where to go from here. He's lackadaisically clearing angles and whatnot, and then the bomb goes down at B, and he leaves mid to go help his team. And even here, he doesn't really have a clear purpose or a direction of what he wants to do. The two big things that I think he could do here is either one, he holds mid for a reflank, or two, he comes around to the backside of site to help his team fight, or, well, the third option would be to start breaking this wall. Just start knifing it, shooting it, whatever you need to do to get this wall down so that you can initiate the retake with your team. But he doesn't really have a clear plan or a goal in mind on what he wants to do to initiate this retake, so he sort of fiddles around on the rope here, just has his crosshair in the wall, and runs around with his knife out. And in this situation, you don't want to be running around with your knife out, because if somebody from the enemy team decides to go aggressive, they could have pushed into this cubby right here and caught him off guard. So just poor mid-round decision-making and poor game sense here. Player peeks out wide, goes for the peek, and he's going to heal his teammate now. Again, he's not taking any space. He's not gaining any map control. He's not giving any information. He just sort of doesn't look like he sort of just doesn't look like he knows what he needs to do. And then here, overswinging here isn't the biggest sin, just because, you know, the time's ticking down and he needs to start taking some fights. This Sova swings through a smoke and kills him. So that's not a huge issue. I don't see an issue with the play that he made there. The big flaw is just the lack of initiative when coming over to the B site to initiate this retake. He doesn't communicate with his team at all what he wants to do, and he sort of doesn't have any idea of how he wants to play out the rest of the round. Alright, so we're going to jump back in on another gun round, and you're going to be rotating from mid on this A hit, and you know the hit is coming and it's imminent, and you still have two slows in your inventory. I'd like to see you having this prepped, and you can throw slows off of the wall over here to bank into under maze in order to slow down their push even more and buy time for your teammates to rotate. You do end up using your slows, but they're a little bit late. You walk up, you spam this cage a little bit, and then you slow lower maze, which is okay. I would have liked to have seen you, if you would have had this slow, like, say, banked off this wall over here and had it land lower, you could have bought time for your Cypher, so that he could fight Generator and keep him alive, and bought a little bit more time for your teammates to rotate so that you guys could set up this crossfire with your Cypher who's still alive and fighting in sight. Afterwards, your Cypher dies, you drop the slow, you fall down, and you're not ready for this peek at all. So you drop, you throw the slow, and your crosshair is low and to the right, and this guy ends up swinging past it, right? You make a decent adjustment and kill him, but because your crosshair placement wasn't clean enough, you end up getting double swung, and you're wide on this angle as well. Like, you're out of position, right? You're in the open right here. You're not tucked on this right wall to take 1v1s, and you're not tucked behind the little thing under heaven to isolate 1v1s with either. So you're subjecting yourself to this double swing, and you get caught out of position for it, and you end up going down. So, if we could watch this back really quick. You pull out your Spectre, you slow, and your crosshair's floating in the wall here. And it's still floating in the wall. The guy can't peek you from inside this wall. He's going to swing you from over here. So you got to get your crosshair out here and ready for this guy who you know is coming because you heard him. They just cleared your teammate generator. You got to get your crosshair out here wide and ready to take gunfights. If you have it wide, you probably can hit that first headshot a lot sooner and take this fight a lot cleaner. Hey guys, fun reminder that I stream every day from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Check out all this great content that you're missing out on. Okay, I'd just like to say that before I rag on this guy for this, I know he has a microphone because I've seen him talk earlier in this video. You haven't seen it in the YouTube video yet, but VOD does have a microphone, and at least his Omen and his Cypher also have microphones. But they are a very mute team. I'm assuming this is just normal in Silver, but if you want to win games and you want to rank up, using your microphone is one of the best ways to help that, honestly. Like, even if you're the only guy calming on your team, if you can coordinate and feed valuable information to your teammates, then it's going to significantly help your chances of winning the round. So you're holding under tube after you walled. This is fine. You're holding map control, and your Omen has control of the mid push here. So you guys have all your bases covered. This is a fine setup. You got all your bases covered, right? And a rain of flashes under tube, and you see a jet, or you see somebody. I couldn't tell if it was a jet or not, but you saw somebody cross, and you don't calm it at all. You just ping it, right? So you calm that, or you just ping that. You don't call, hey, somebody's orange, somebody's pushing mid, he's under tube. And your jet gets caught off guard by him right now. Look at this. Your jet is coming from B main over here, and the jet who crossed, and you saw him cross, sits in a corner and gets a free kill on your teammate who's rotating. So I realize that it's not fair for me to say because your teammates aren't using their mics either, and I know I'm going to get a lot of guys in the YouTube comment section who are saying, well, Bumpa, just nobody uses their mic in Silver. That's just why it's elo hell, you know, yada, 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 yada. Like, if you want to be better and you want to get out of this elo, you got to communicate to your teammates, even if they're not communicating to you. One person who's giving good information is better than 0 people giving 0 information. You know what I'm saying? So, that's the big thing that I've been noticing from, like, I've already watched this VOD through once, but the big thing that I'm noticing is just a complete lack of basic fundamentals for TAC FPS, and I expected that kind of, but it's something that you have to actively improve on, and if you want to get better, you have to actively focus on it. Alright, so here we have you rotating. It's a 5v5, and the enemy team is coming into B. And good slow here to slow their cross into yellow, potentially give your teammates some opportunities to get some picks. But right now, I don't like this. I don't like that you're just sitting in a smoke. You're essentially taking yourself out of the round by sitting in this smoke. You're not getting any information. You're not feeding your teammates any information, and your ability to fight with your teammates is a non-factor. You can't see anybody, so how can you shoot anybody? So there's a bunch of different positions that you could take. You could drop back sight and help double peek with your jet. You could go towards mid to play with your Cypher and your Rays, you know? Or I think you could even get to the far right side of this smoke and peek out the top on the right side. So you have a couple of different options on how you can help your team and fight with your team. But instead you play in this smoke and you sort of just play your life, which doesn't really help your team much. And while you're sitting in the smoke, not getting any information, the smoke fades, and then the Omen who ulted probably, you know, he probably ulted back here or something like that and flanked you from kitchen. The Omen who ulted now has a free flank because you're sitting in a smoke being a non-factor. You have a teammate who's back here watching this. You have a teammate over here watching this lane, and then your Raze is watching behind you. So you're sitting in a smoke, basically being you're doing nothing for your team in the round. You're just existing, you know. Try and always have a purpose for what you're doing for which you're doing things. You can't just sit in a smoke and have no objective for it, no plan of action on it. You need to be putting yourself in a position that makes you useful for your team. And what would have been more useful in this situation is when the Omen ult went off, you could have backed up into kitchen and held your flank from here, or you could have helped the Raze mid. There were a bunch of different things that you could have done to have impact on your round, but instead you sat in a smoke and then you got flanked. So just being aware of how you can be more useful to your team is pretty big. All right, so in this situation, your two teammates have gone down to A from Arena, who I think pushed through mid. You guys didn't have anybody watching mid, you know. It's just silver things. It is what it is. And this Arena flashes out a rafter here in a second. And you dunk on this kid, honestly. Like, you dunk on this kid. But you don't really have comms on what's going on. The guy is pushed through A solo, and your Raze just got to pick onto a guy who is planting the bomb. And you pull your knife out, and you run through kitchen. And you get shot in the back by this Omen who's lurking. So, I guess if I were to give any tip, after watching this gameplay at least, if I had to give any tip to Silvers, it would be to keep your gun out at all times and always be ready for these for weird situations. Like, you should have your gun out 24/7, in my opinion. There is never a time when it is safe, because with how little comms and how little information your team has been giving you and you have been giving your team, there is literally never a situation in which you should not have your gun out. There could literally be an enemy around the corner at all times. It's just a sad reality of, like, you know, this elo. It's not like, you know, it just comes with the territory with low elo. So if I had to give you one tip, it would be to focus on crosshair placement 24/7 and always have your gun out when you are navigating the map, because otherwise stuff like this is going to catch you off guard. And had you just been aware of it and prepared for it by having your gun out and having good crosshair placement, this lurk could have been a non-factor and you could have been ready for it. So if you're not going to comm with your team, then you need to be hyper aware and always have your gun out. All right, we're moving over to T side, and you're working B main with your Raze here. You saw an enemy under, and you missed it. That's fine, whatever. You know, I'm not gonna nitpick something that you just didn't see. But what I will nitpick is this crosshair placement, my friend. You have it floating out into this crate. Nobody's peeking you from here, man. You should have it right here at head level. And while yes, it is unfortunate that this guy swung you, the amount of space that you would have had to flick from here to there, rather from here to where he's actually peeking you from, is a lot lower. So what I would have been pre-aiming, I would have been pre-aiming for this deep peek, and then I would have had to react to this guy swinging out of this cubby. But this is just an example of poor crosshair placement getting you killed. You almost hit this shot too with how far you have to flick. You almost click this guy's head. But you whiff a little bit, and you instant crouch as well when you start shooting, and you just get your head taken off. So bad crosshair placements and just bad crosshair placement and somewhat bad movement got you killed here, right? You're going forward, like you're holding W here, and I know you have to hold W through this lane, but you're holding W still while you're getting peeked. You're not stopping in time, and instead of stopping before you shoot, you're crouching to stop, and you have to flick a really far distance because your crosshair was floating in the wall over here. So a lot of people ask me what's the best way to train crosshair placement, and there's literally no secret or workaround for it. It literally just comes down to you have to be hyper aware of it at all times, and you have to never let yourself get lazy on letting your crosshair float into walls. So alright, so your team's now on an eco, and it looks like you're pushing the A site. And you hear a guy shooting in lower maze, and you push through this smoke, which is honestly fine when you're on eco. Like, it's whatever. Like, making these weird, chaotic plays is good. You push through the smoke, you're holding W, and you have a frenzy, so of course you can run and shoot, but like your movement here in general is just sloppy, right? So you push through this smoke and you're holding forward as you're going through it, and you continue to go through it, and you continue to push forward and expose yourself. Like, if this is me, I'm not holding W towards this guy as I shoot. You can move and shoot with a frenzy, by the way. Like, it's fine. Like, that's not what I'm nitpicking, but I would be moving left to right in this instance while I'm shooting this Omen, so that you can keep this isolated angle that you have, right? You have a 1v1 with this guy, but you see him, you run at him, you're shooting, and now you're so far out of position that this is a super easy trade for this Sova. If you just swung left to right, killed the Omen, and then you could have maybe backed up through the smoke, this Sova was still swinging you, so it's probably likely that you're going to get traded. But just to tackle this mistake at its base here, where you're running forward and you're exposing yourself to a new angle as you're shooting one guy, is a bad habit. You want to make sure that if you have that isolated 1v1, you should keep it and take advantage of that. All right, so here we have you and your team. You're doing 4 mid, 1A. It looks like you're just sort of trying to work some picks here. Your Omen throw is a pretty bad smoke, which is, not great, but you move up, and it looks like you wanted to go under tube with your raise to take space with them, and then you just sort of sit here exposed to under tube. You're watching, like, you're exposed to a ton of different angles here, and you don't seem to be aware of it. And after you get done watching it, you decide to come through this, and you get opped by this jet. Now, I understand that it's frustrating to get opped by a jet in a way like this, but the real problem here is it's similar to a pistol round, where we talked about your decisiveness and your decision making and understand like where you wanted to go and what you have an actionable plan for how you're taking map control and whatnot. You just sort of look like you're just sort of lackadaisically like moving around the map. I know I've said that word twice this video. I don't know why. It's just my word of the day apparently. But look, you could have gone with the raise. You could have gone under. You could have walked through, gotten to this corner to take this space. But instead, you're just sitting here in this space that you've already claimed, and you're just sort of getting stuck, doing nothing, And it gives this time for Jet to rotate back over here and pick you off. Now, I understand that, like, it's sort of like, oh, the Jet had timing and he came through and shot you when you were still crossing under the tube. But the real issue here is just your decisiveness and your movement. The movement is the main thing that I've been noticing most of this video for what you're lacking. And also, let me just point this out again to talk about crosshair placement again. I know I've talked about it a lot, but this core mechanic is really, really big. You have your teammate who pushed through towards under kitchen, right? And when you come back and you're looking around, you're aiming nowhere again. You're aiming over at orange, and you're aiming towards an angle that your raise is already cleared, right? So if you came through this and perhaps you had your crosshair already at head level over here, expecting a swing from sight, maybe, just maybe, you could have hit this shot on this Jet who is peeking you. But instead, because of poor decision making, like a lack of a clear direction in the round, and poor crosshair placement, you end up getting peeked and killed. So unfortunate, but it does happen. And like these are like most of the deaths from this video that I've noticed. It just comes from just not having a clear sense of what you need to do in the round in order to win it, and failing to execute on it and hesitating to execute on it as well, which causes you to stall out and your team, and you just end up getting picked off one by one in unfair gunfights from opponents who have better positioning than you. That's pretty much all it comes down to. It's not like your aim's like much worse than these guys. These guys aren't better aimers than you. It's just you're getting caught off guard and they're not. And at a low elo like this, where the opponents you're playing against probably don't understand what they're doing either, man. Like, they probably don't know what they're doing either. And if you played them on this map 10 times in a row, it would probably be an even split right down the middle, 5-5. But if you want to rank up and you want to get out of this elo, you need to improve and learn to be better than them. And it's not going to take that much. You know what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't take that much more game sense, and it doesn't take that much more practice to improve over the level of these players that you're playing against. It's just something that you have to drill yourself, and there's really no shortcut for it. It's just something that you have to work through. And it's going to take a little bit of time, but you know, that's what we're here for. We're here for the improvement. We're not here to take shortcuts. You know what I'm saying? There are no shortcuts in competitive shooters. In competitive shooters and life, there are no shortcuts. All right, so here we have you in a 4v4 post-plant situation. You have bomb down on B, and this should probably favor you guys as a team. And you don't really make a mistake this round, but I want to talk about your teammate who does, because I think it's good. So you have a pretty good crossfire here. So the way that this should be played is the guy on top of crate here, which is you, you'd be holding the cross to yellow, and then your teammate yellow can peek wide off your contact, right, to clean out anybody else who's pushing yellow on him. But your teammate gets darted, and then after he is darted, he swings when he's being scanned. He doesn't stop to break the dart. He swings, he gives up his life, and he then gives up the crossfire. So you now have all of your whole crossfire at yellow has completely been broken now because your teammate peeked and went down. And mind you, the enemy hasn't tapped the bomb yet either. So he peeks and dies, which means that it's now down to you and your two other teammates who are all playing from the same position. Your jet peeks, gets opt. You swing. So this is the angle that like you could have been holding the whole time, and then your yellow player would have peeked off of your contact here, but he swung and gave up the crossfire immediately. You hit a nice burst shot on this guy. The bomb gets tapped, and you're trying to swing it, but this jet has a really good off angle here in order to keep you from swinging wider, and he picks you off. And you did what you had to do there. You have to peek because the guy could be defusing the bomb. And you're down men, so you need to get kills in order to even up man advantage. And your Omen, who was watching the flank, is now stuck in a pretty unwinnable 1v3. So I just wanted to put this out there, that this round here was not your fault at all. Your teammate made a horrible misplay, but it is still something that we can learn from so that we don't make the same mistake as this Cypher. You need to understand what your teammates can hold for you and when the time to peak is in your post plant. You shouldn't just be randomly swinging yellow before any tap or anything goes down and giving up your life. Just hold, play the crossfire for your teammate, trust for him to hold your cross, and play off of that. So yeah, thank you to Vozy for the VOD. I hope you guys learned a little bit something about the game. I know that I didn't go super in depth, but there's not a lot of depth to these lower elo matchmakings. It just sort of comes down to basic awareness and crosshair placement. But hopefully I showed enough examples that it gives you guys a little bit of an idea of something that you can use to build on in the future. You know, like use this video as building blocks. But it all comes down to you to actually put the work in and put the effort into learning this stuff. You're not gonna just learn it all magically from one video. Maybe it will help click in your head that you can. It'll give you the pieces you need to build into a better player. But watching one video is not gonna magically make you a god at Valorant. So hope you enjoyed the VOD review. Hope you guys learned a little something. Hope you guys saw some of yourself in this video that you can use to improve on. But yeah. If you're interested in more content like this, be sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel. I post an educational video once every week on the weekend, and we got some funny highlights and stuff earlier in the week as well. And if you're interested in watching me play the video game live, check me out on Twitch, twitch.tv/Bumpa. I stream every day from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, so hope to see you guys there. Anyways, until next time, boys, I hope you learned something, and I hope you have a good rest of your day. Peace.